What if I told you that behind the laughter, family lessons, and warm sitcom smiles, the Cosby Show cast was dealing with stories that fans never saw on screen? In 1984, the Huxtables became America's favorite family, breaking barriers, shaping culture, and redefining what black success looked like on television. But away from the cameras, life wasn't always as perfect as the living room scenes made it seem. Here's what the Cosby Show cast finally revealed: secrets, struggles, and surprises that most fans never knew. The show that changed TV forever. When The Cosby Show premiered in 1984, television had never seen anything like it. Before this, most black families on TV were shown struggling, surviving, or used as comic relief. But then came the Huxtables, educated, successful, loving, and funny. They didn't just represent a family, they represented hope. Viewers saw a doctor father, a lawyer mother, and kids who faced normal life problems. It felt real, inspiring, and refreshing for millions of households. What many fans never knew was how much pressure the cast felt behind the scenes. Bill Cosby had one clear goal: to show the world that a black family could stand proudly among the best television shows. Every actor knew they were part of something bigger than entertainment. They were rewriting TV history. Each scene had to be perfect, because the show carried a message that went far beyond laughter. The success was massive. Within months, The Cosby Show became #1 in America, uniting audiences of every race and background. It wasn't just a sitcom. It was a cultural shift that opened doors for countless black actors who followed. But while the world celebrated the Huxtables' perfection, the cast quietly dealt with exhaustion, expectations, and the unspoken truth that one mistake could ruin everything they'd built. The smiles on screen were real, but so was the weight they carried off camera. Bill Cosby, the visionary or the controller? Bill Cosby wasn't just the face of the show, he was the engine that drove it. From the scripts to the lighting, from the pacing to the tiniest line delivery, he wanted everything to match his vision. To some, he was a genius who built television gold. To others, he was an intense perfectionist who demanded too much. His influence was everywhere, and his word was final. The cast respected his brilliance, but often felt his control tighten around them. He wanted the Huxtables to look and act like the perfect family, not just on TV, but in real life too. He expected the actors to behave like their characters, even when the cameras stopped rolling. That level of control made some cast members feel like they weren't just acting in a show, they were living inside his idea of perfection. Cosby's methods did work. The show became a global success, but they came with an emotional cost. Behind the laughter, there were whispers of exhaustion and quiet frustration. Some cast members admired his vision, others felt trapped by it. While the world saw him as the wise, lovable father, those on set knew a different side. A man determined to protect his creation at any cost. His control built a masterpiece, but it also left invisible cracks within the cast that would take years to show. Phylicia Rashad's hidden pressure. Playing Claire Huxtable made Phylicia Rashad a household name. Her charm, grace, and strength became symbols of the ideal TV mother, confident, calm, and flawless. But behind that perfect image was a woman quietly struggling with pressure few could imagine. Being the only female lead opposite Bill Cosby meant every scene had to match his high standards. She had to embody intelligence, warmth, and class without ever showing weakness. Fans adored her character, but few realized how demanding her role truly was. Rashad often juggled long hours on set while managing her own life off-screen. She once described those years as both empowering and exhausting. Every line she delivered had to strike the right balance: strong but gentle, firm but loving. And because the show carried such cultural weight, she couldn't afford to make mistakes. She also felt the unspoken pressure of representing black women everywhere. Millions looked up to Claire Huxtable as a role model, and Rashad felt that responsibility deeply. The world saw perfection, but behind the scenes, she was constantly pushing herself not to disappoint anyone, not her cast, not her fans, and definitely not Cosby. Her professionalism never slipped, but it came with a heavy emotional cost. While the world celebrated the perfect TV mom, Phylicia Rashad was quietly carrying the weight of being much more than just an actress. She was a symbol of expectation. Lisa Bonet's controversial exit. Lisa Bonet's role as Denise Huxtable made her one of the show's brightest stars. Audiences loved her effortless cool, Her rebellious style and her free spirit, but what seemed like natural charm on-screen, often clashed with Bill Cosby's strict expectations off-screen. As Lisa grew older, she began pushing against the limits of her good girl image, and that tension became impossible to ignore. Things came to a breaking point when Lisa took on more mature roles outside the show, especially her appearance in Angel Heart, a dark and controversial film. Cosby reportedly hated it, believing it went against the wholesome image of The Cosby Show. What followed was a quiet fallout between the two. Lisa's appearances became fewer, her storyline faded, and soon she was written out entirely. Behind the scenes, some cast members saw it coming. Lisa had always been more independent than most, unafraid to speak her mind, even when it didn't please the producers. While fans were left wondering why Denise suddenly vanished, the truth was buried under creative differences and power struggles. Lisa's departure marked one of the show's most shocking moments. It showed that even on TV's most beloved family, rebellion came at a price. Though she returned briefly in a different world, the bond between her and Cosby was never the same again. What fans saw as a character's disappearance was actually a reflection of real-life tension, fame, and creative control behind the scenes. Tempestt Bledsoe's real-life struggles. Tempestt Bledsoe became famous as Vanessa Huxtable, the smart, curious, sometimes rebellious daughter everyone loved. She grew up in front of America's eyes, but fame at such a young age came with a hidden price. While audiences saw her as confident and happy, behind the scenes she faced the pressures of growing up in the public eye. Every word, outfit, and change in her appearance was judged. The constant scrutiny made her self-conscious, especially about her looks. As she got older, the spotlight only grew harsher. The entertainment world wasn't always kind to young black actresses, and Bledsoe quietly battled the weight of unrealistic expectations. The image of the perfect Huxtable daughter became hard to live up to. She later opened up about body image criticism and how it affected her self-esteem during her teenage years. Even with those challenges, she remained grounded. Instead of chasing fame, she focused on education and personal growth. Unlike many child stars who lost their way, Tempestt stepped back from Hollywood and rebuilt her life with quiet strength. She eventually returned to television not as the wide-eyed girl fans remembered, but as a confident woman who found peace outside the chaos of fame. Her story isn't about scandal or downfall, it's about survival. Tempestt Bledsoe proved that walking away from the spotlight sometimes takes more courage than staying in it. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's awakening. As Theo Huxtable, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was the face of every young viewer who related to growing up in a strict yet loving family. His charm and humor made him a fan favorite, but few knew the pressure he faced growing up under Bill Cosby's shadow. Cosby treated Malcolm like a son on and off the set, mentoring him, guiding him, and shaping his career. But as the show's success exploded, that father-son dynamic became complicated. Malcolm admired Cosby deeply, yet he also felt the burden of being seen as his TV reflection. Every decision he made had to match the image of the wholesome Huxtable boy. Fame came fast, but so did responsibility. He had to navigate fame, adolescence, and high expectations all at once. Behind the scenes, he was still figuring out who he really was, separate from the role that made him famous. Years later, when Cosby's scandals surfaced, Malcolm was heartbroken. He described it as losing a mentor and seeing a childhood hero's image crumble. It forced him to look back at the years on the show with mixed emotions, gratitude for the success, but sadness for the truth that later came out. Despite it all, Malcolm-Jamal Warner grew into a thoughtful artist, musician, and director. His awakening wasn't just about fame or disappointment, it was about learning that even heroes can fall. And sometimes, that fall changes how you see your own story forever. Sabrina Le Beauf's career roadblock. Sabrina Le Beauf brought elegance and grace to the role of Sandra Huxtable, the oldest and most responsible daughter. She played the part with quiet confidence, often balancing her character's family duties with her own dreams. But what many fans never knew was that behind the camera, Sabrina felt stuck. While The Cosby Show made her famous, it also limited her future in Hollywood. Casting directors couldn't see her as anything other than Sandra Huxtable. Before joining the show, Sabrina had a passion for theater and serious acting. She had the training, talent, and ambition to take on powerful dramatic roles. Yet, after the show's success, offers became rare. She later admitted that being part of something so iconic was both a blessing and a curse. The fame she gained from The Cosby Show was immense, but it boxed her in. While her co-stars continued to land TV and film projects, Sabrina quietly returned to her first love, stage acting. She performed in theaters across the country, far from the Hollywood spotlight. It wasn't the fame she once imagined, but it gave her creative freedom she couldn't find on television. For her, walking away wasn't failure, it was reclaiming her identity as an artist. Sabrina's story shows the painful side of success sometimes. The role that makes you unforgettable also becomes the very thing that holds you back from growing. Keshia Knight Pulliam, the youngest star's reality. Keshia Knight Pulliam melted hearts as Rudy Huxtable, the adorable youngest daughter with endless charm. She was only 4 years old when she joined The Cosby Show, making her one of the youngest actors ever nominated for an Emmy. On screen, she brought laughter and innocence. But behind the smiles, Keshia's childhood was far from normal. Growing up on a hit show meant trading playgrounds for sets and schoolbooks for scripts. She had to learn discipline early. While other kids played freely, Keshia was memorizing lines and hitting marks on camera. Bill Cosby treated her with great care, often protecting her from the more intense adult moments on set. But as she grew older, she started realizing the unique challenges of being a child star. The fame was overwhelming, and the expectations were sky high. When The Cosby Show ended, Keshia faced the same struggle many young actors do, finding her identity outside the character that made her famous. Hollywood often forgets child stars once their shows end, and she felt that sting too. But instead of fading away, she focused on her education, earning a degree, and slowly returning to acting on her own terms. Today, Keshia is proud of her past, but not defined by it. Her journey from child actor to independent woman proves that fame at a young age doesn't have to lead to downfall. It can become a lesson in resilience and self-worth. Behind the laughter, the cast's secret bond. To the world, The Cosby Show looked like the happiest family on television, full of laughter, lessons, and love. But behind the scenes, the real bond between the cast was more complex. Yes, they shared genuine affection, but the pressure of fame, perfection, and Bill Cosby's leadership sometimes tested their relationships. Still, through all of it, the cast developed a closeness that went far beyond the cameras. They spent years growing together, celebrating birthdays, comforting each other during tough times, and watching the youngest cast members grow up. That connection was real, and it helped them survive the chaos that came with the show's success. When long filming days became exhausting or creative disagreements broke out, they leaned on each other for balance. Even after the show ended, many of them stayed in touch. When the world later turned against Cosby amid his scandals, the cast members found themselves torn, balancing their painful memories with the gratitude they felt for what the show once meant. Through interviews and reunions, one thing became clear: the love they shared wasn't fake. The Huxtable family might have been written for television, but the bond among its cast grew from something genuine, a shared journey through fame, pressure, and the history they helped create. What viewers saw as perfect sitcom magic was, in truth, built on friendship, trust, and quiet resilience that lasted far beyond the final episode. When the curtain fell, life after The Cosby Show. When The Cosby Show finally ended in 1992, it marked the end of an era. For nearly a decade, it had shaped pop culture, changed how the world viewed black families, and launched the careers of every cast member. But once the curtain fell, life off-screen wasn't as simple as the Huxtable family dinners. Fame faded, roles slowed down, and the actors had to rebuild their identities in a world that still saw them as the characters they once played. For years, the show's legacy stayed strong until Bill Cosby's downfall shocked the world. As disturbing allegations surfaced, the cast faced a painful reality. The man who helped create their success was now a symbol of betrayal. Some stayed silent, others spoke carefully, but all carried the weight of watching their shared legacy tarnished. The warmth of The Cosby Show now lived in the shadow of scandal. Still, each cast member found their own way forward. Some turned to theater, others to activism, and a few simply stepped out of the spotlight. Despite the pain, most of them still cherish the good that the show brought, the hope it inspired, the doors it opened, and the representation it gave millions of viewers. For them, The Cosby Show wasn't just a sitcom, it was a defining chapter of their lives, filled with both triumph and heartbreak. It reminded the world that even the brightest stars can cast the darkest shadows when truth finally comes to light. For nearly a decade, The Cosby Show stood as the symbol of love, laughter, and unity. A show that didn't just entertain, but changed television forever. Yet, behind its perfect image were real people with real stories, struggles, regrets, and secrets that fans never saw. So, after hearing what really happened behind one of TV's most beloved families, do you still see The Cosby Show the same way? If you love uncovering the untold stories behind Hollywood's biggest legends, hit subscribe, tap that like button, and turn on notifications, because more shocking truths and hidden Hollywood secrets are coming your way soon.